that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 413th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey and the astonishing Tom Fennell. Tom, in the flesh? Are you there?
I just took a quick nap.
Oh, okay. Anyway, Tom is here with us, and he's in the flesh. So every day I get up and do an aggregation of the day's news on energy and climate change, and I put that at my blog, geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. And Tom and I go through the 21 or so items from the previous week that we think are the most important. This week, we're recording on the 15th of, we're not recording on the 15th, we're recording on the what are we doing, Tom?
7:38, something like that.
We started on the 8th. We started on the 1st. We're recording on the 8th. Here I'm adding sevens all over the place, and it doesn't work. We started on the 8th, on the 1st of April, which is playing a joke on us now because it was April Fool's Day. And we continue up until today, and yesterday, which is the 7th. And people who are watching this can see the articles that we're talking about, either going to the blog and clicking on the date. We'll try to keep you apprised of what date it is that our articles come from, or they can look at the script that we use kind of loosely, and a link to that is included where you download this TV show.
Well, some of these are well worth pursuing if you've got the time. I'll try to do some of the better ones, because some of them are particularly interesting this week and long.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, there's one thing I'd like to mention, if you don't mind, Tom. I started doing my news aggregations just 10 years ago this week. The first 14 months I did it by email, and it was in June of 2012 that I switched to doing the blog. And then, of course, you and I started doing the Energy Week shows in November of 2013. But I have been doing it 10 years, and I just thought, people might like to know that. So our first item has cherry blossoms, as Tom said.
Rather pretty.
There they are, and this is from an operation called Lonely Planet.
Alrighty, why? Kyoto's cherry blossoms have bloomed unusually early.
Yeah, warmer weather has meant that the blossoms in the city of Kyoto peaked on the 26th of March, which is the earliest date recorded since records began in 812 AD. And imperial court documents and diaries show. Part of the reason for the early date is climate change. Another part is urban heat island effect. And Tom, when I look at that picture, I think if we threw that into really high contrast and then had a computer go through and every time it came across different colors, pixels, which would be either black or white, randomly make all the pixels of the same color connected to it, some random color. That thing would look like a Jackson Pollock painting.
It would, yeah. Quick takeaway here.
Yeah.
The timing of the blossoms results from the temperature patterns for the autumn of the previous year.
Okay.
And this urban heat island effect is associated with increased urbanization.
I see that here.
Surprised me.
I see the heat island effect here in Brattleboro. I have a brother who lives in Marlborough, and he's out in the countryside. And a lot of times it's the difference between the temperature in Brattleboro and where he lives is in the morning, it could be 15 degrees Fahrenheit.
I've heard that too. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. You want to go on?
Yeah, let's move on. We got a picture here of who's this guy?
I don't know. He's wearing a mask. How could I possibly know?
Who is that masked man?
Tell me, Tonto. Okay. This is from CNN.
Here's what's in Biden's infrastructure proposal.
Yeah, now that his massive coronavirus relief package is law, President Joe Biden is laying out his next big proposal, a roughly $2 trillion plan for improving the nation's infrastructure and shifting to greener energy over the next 8 years. He is set to unveil the effort today being not when Tom and I are talking, but a week ago, at an event in Pittsburgh. And there was a lot in that plan. One of the things that was...
a lot of details in it.
Yeah. One thing that was not in it was a tax reduction for corporations.
He's trying to sneak that one in, huh?
I don't think he's trying to sneak it in. Corporations are going to be paying higher taxes. And, the people who are getting...
Article, this nation's...
What's that?
We're both talking at once. Keep going.
Oh, I was
going... You're both talking at once. You got...
Oh, you go ahead, Tom.
You got more.
What's that?
The nation's infrastructure is sorely in need of repair.
Yeah.
Biden's plan put $620 billion on roads, bridges, public transit, rail, ports, airports, and electric vehicles, reducing congestion and limiting greenhouse gas emissions. And this is what you just said. He plans to pay for this by raising corporate taxes.
The corporate taxes
are in this article.
The corporate taxes are at the lowest level they've been in maybe forever. I don't know, but certainly in decades. And one of the things that I've seen my whole life, at least since the 1950s, is people complaining about our infrastructure in this country. And it's really kind of appalling. Okay, you have more on that, Tom?
Not really. I just said that there's a lot of details in this article. And it's a long article, but it's worth reading.
Yep. So we have
usually does a good job.
Yeah. We have a picture of an Apple computer.
Is that what that is?
I think it is. Maybe it's a keyboard, a monitor, a mouse. And...
Yeah. There's an Apple on it, so it must be an Apple computer.
I would guess. What do you have for a title?
More. Let's get more than 100 of Apple's global suppliers are moving to 100% renewable energy. Well, that's good news.
Yeah, this is from Environment and Energy Leader. Apple announced that over 110 of its manufacturing partners globally are moving to 100% renewable energy for their Apple production, with nearly 8 gigabytes of clean energy planned. They will avoid over 15 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent annually. So,
Apple planning. Look, we're both talking at once.
Go ahead.
Apple is planning to become carbon neutral across its entire business, manufacturing, supply chain, and product life cycle by 2030. This means that every Apple device sold will have net zero climate impact. That's a step in the right direction.
I think it is. I think you're right. Okay. We are up to an item from Eureka Alert and a picture of a calving event at Pine Island Glacier. That is one very big block of ice. Actually, two very big blocks of ice.
Most certainly is, and it's breaking up.
It is. And what do you have for a title?
Evidence of Antarctic glaciers tipping point confirmed for the first time.
Researchers at Northumbria University have confirmed, sorry about this, for the first time that Pine Island Glacier in West Antarctica could cross tipping points, leading to a rapid and irreversible retreat, which would have significant consequences for global sea level. These pieces of ice are just unbelievably big. What's that?
Significant is the operative word. Significant is the operative word.
I guess you're right, Tom.
Well, White Island Glacier is large. It's 2/3 the size of the UK.
That's
And
a
the
big
glacier
block of
is a
ice.
particular It is. The
Yeah.
glacier is a particular cause of concern, as it is losing more ice than any other glacier in Antarctica.
Yeah,
If
and
the glacier entered retreat, the impact on sea level would be measured in meters. And once the retreat starts, it might be impossible to stop.
well, yes, and I don't think anybody has any hope of stopping any of these things right now. We've got to go a long ways before we can start talking about that. One of the things to remember about this is that people constantly point out that floating ice, when floating ice melts, it doesn't change the sea level. But when land-based ice melts, it does. And one thing that we should bear in mind here is this ice is floating, but it is also preventing other ice from moving toward the sea in a glacier, because the ice in a glacier moves very slowly, but glacially, but it does move. And as the sea level ice, floating ice, breaks away, it allows much more ice to come down to the sea level and raise the sea level. This is a big deal. More, Tom?
I'll read the title here. It says, I'll read the title.
Okay.
Evidence of Antarctic glacier's tipping point confirmed the first time.
We've done that, Tom.
Oh, I said that already.
Yeah, you did. And we have a picture of a rooftop solar array and an article from Solar Power World. What's that?
You're getting ahead of me already.
No,
You're getting ahead of me already.
I am. We finished the one about the ice in Antarctica.
Right. We got a picture of some rooftop renewables.
Yes, that's right. We do. And this article is from what date? What date is this? Friday, April 2nd. The previous one was too. This is from Solar Power World.
Yep. Latest FERC reports show renewables significantly outperforming nuclear power in 2020.
Yes. Several reports from the Energy Information Administration and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which is called FERC, show that the mix of renewable energy sources significantly outperformed and expanded their lead over nuclear power in 2020. Well, they expanded a lead over coal also. And, we're seeing the change, and we're going to see more of this later this show.
Well, from the article, renewables collectively provided 20% of the country's total electrical output last year.
Right.
In 2010, it was 10%.
Yes.
So nuclear power's share has remained largely unchanged. And 2010 was the last year in which nuclear power provided more energy than did renewable.
Yeah.
So it's safe to conclude that the margin will continue to rise.
Well, the margin's going to continue also because there are very few nuclear power plants being built, and there are a bunch of nuclear power plants that are scheduled to be shut down.
They're getting old.
Yeah. So the amount of nuclear power on the grid, the actual absolute amount is going to decline, the capacity.
Well, we got a nice picture here of one of these things, wind turbines.
I keep telling you, they're party noisemakers.
Oh, is that what they are?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an article from Clean Technica.
Volkswagen's European factories up to 95% power by renewables.
Yeah, in 2020, Volkswagen Group increased the share of renewables powering its European factories from 80% to 95%, and 10 of its factories became 100% renewably powered. The target is to have VW factories reach 100% renewable power by 2023. Do you think they're going to be able to do that, Tom?
Well, they got a chance.
I have a feeling they would have it if they stumbled across that line.
Volkswagen is not alone. Virtually all of the automotive manufacturers in Europe are doing the same thing.
Oh, absolutely they are. They can save money doing this and have good PR too. You know, there it is.
Moving right along.
Moving right along, we have actually, I think a kind of a pretty picture of wind turbines. That's
an interesting mountain.
Well, the title here says wind turbines in Isla Craig, which is what that is. And it's, I don't know, it's a legendary island off the coast of Scotland.
Well, I got a little bit of information on that. So
oh, do you?
I'll read the title, you'll read the blurb, and
okay.
Then I'll talk about what that means.
Well, you got a deal.
Renewables can power the economy of an independent Scotland. This is political.
Yeah, it is. And this is according to a person named Lorna Slater, who is running for office, I believe. This is from the Scotsman. Nicola Sturgeon was right to point out in debate that 97% of our electricity came from renewables last year, our, in this case, being Scotland's. But Scotland's potential is great enough to provide 25% of Europe's renewable energy, and renewables can be a driver for an independent Scotland. And of course, Lorna Slater is running for office in Scotland, and she wants Scotland to go through the independence thing all over again.
Well, that's Isla Craig, and Craig means rock.
Yeah.
It's an uninhabited 240-acre island between Ireland and Scotland.
Yeah.
And it's made of a particularly hard microgranite that make it the favored material for the manufacture of curling stones. Now you can go to sleep tonight satisfied that you know that.
Well, not just satisfied that I know that, but satisfied that curling stones are of exceptionally high quality.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
This island was a haven for Catholics during the Scottish Reformation.
It's hard, looking at that, it's hard to imagine that thing would be a haven for anything but puffins.
Well, I think they were trying to escape...
they were trying to escape the Protestant...
the Scottish Reformation.
Yeah, Scotland has been divided for centuries between groups that are Catholic and groups that are Protestant, and the Highland Scots tend to be Catholic, and it's led to, over the years, it's led to a certain amount of disagreement, disagreeable disagreement, as a matter of fact. Okay, you have more on that?
Well, I'm going through some words that I've gotten. I'm not sure it's worth mentioning. Well, oil and gas companies are not the victims here. They've lobbied relentlessly since the 1970s for increased subsidies, even while knowing full well that they were causing damage to the planet.
Oh, yeah.
If giving them money was the solution, the problem would have been solved.
Okay. Tom, all right, I'm going to go to this picture. Do you see it? Picture of a farm?
Yeah.
This is from the Tribune. And that farm is a big field of stubble.
Well, yeah, it looks like they just, it looked like the stubble was all rolled into wheels that's on that tractor.
Yeah.
They're being pulled.
Yep. As I said, go ahead.
No, you say what you're going to say, and then
I was going to say this comes from the Tribune, but I've already said that. So what's the title?
Climate change cut global farming productivity 21% since the 1960s.
That is, despite important agricultural advancements to feed the world in the last 60 years, a new study shows that global farming productivity is 21% lower than it would have been without climate change. The study was published in the journal Nature Climate Change. And I want to say this is a little bit confusing, because the actual amount produced from the farms is up. But what they're saying is, if we use the same amount of farm to produce stuff, and it was being produced at the same level of productivity as it was in the 60s, we'd have a lot more. But it's been reduced from that a lot more by 21%, which is, as you said, significant.
Well, according to the article, it's equivalent to losing about 7 years of farm productivity increases over 60 years.
Yeah.
So they're staying the same, but they should be growing.
Yeah, that's yeah, right. So we've had increases in output, but they haven't been anywhere near as big as they would have been if we hadn't had climate change.
Correct.
And we could kind of reflect here for a moment that the systems that are used in farming in a lot of places are destructive, and that has its own effects on that too. The idea of putting out chemical fertilizer,
absolutely,
is a difficult one.
Monoculture is not good.
Monoculture has got its own entire set of problems. I remember reading about that when I was like in college. Somebody had taken over a piece of property in Sweden that had been clear cut and planted trees in there for the purpose of raising them for whatever purpose, possibly making paper. And what they found was in the big forest that they had, nothing lived except the trees. There weren't any birds. There weren't any insects.
Well,
because it was monoculture.
Yeah.
The predatory insect, the pest insects had all been sprayed to death, and there was no reason for a bird to enter a piece of forest like that. So they had basically a dead forest, except that the trees were alive. There was no ecological activity going on there. It was just trees growing. And that's a problem. It might work for paper making, but overall, it's a big problem.
Well, let's move along here. We got a picture of wind turbines in Oklahoma.
Well, how about that? I bet you knew that because you read the title. Okay, and we have, this is from nsenergybusiness.com.
And it says, I quote, energy transition to renewables likely to accelerate over the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Right.
The energy transition to renewables is likely to accelerate over the next 2 or 3 years, according to a report. The analysis by the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis claims that coal and gas are the, quote, biggest losers, end quote. You have anything on this, Tom?
Yeah, it says solar and battery storage adoption is enjoying almost exponential growth.
Yeah.
And wind and solar technology improvements have helped turn the two resources into the least cost option across the U.S.
Yeah.
Cleaner and lower cost wind and solar, coupled with battery storage, will drive fossil fuels out of the market.
Yeah. Now, Tom, I got interested in this particular story, and there is a report that they talk about, and the story had a link to that report, and I forget. This story was written by people from the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis. The report came out from the same place, and it was done by the same people. So basically, what happened was this story was written by the authors of the report that the story is reporting. And when I went into that report, I came across some stuff that was mind-boggling. And I'm going to tell you about one of them because I think it really speaks to this. There's a power plant near Macon, Georgia. It's called the Scherer, Scherer, Plant Scherer. And Plant Scherer is the fourth largest generating station in the United States.
Wow.
It has 4 units, and depending upon where you go for the information, those 4 units, the highest number I saw quoted was 930 megawatts each, and the lowest number was 880 megawatts each. So you put the four of those together and they produce about 6 times the amount of electricity that the old Vermont Yankee nuclear power plant produced. They are coal burning units, and their current capacity factor, according to this support, is 18.7%. Believe it or not.
Wow.
Now, for anybody who's listening, if you have if you're working 40 hours a week and that's your 100% capacity, going to 18.7% is kind of like having your boss come to you and saying, well, we're going to have to cut back on the amount of time we employ you. And from now on, you're going to be working 7.5 hours a week. You don't make money doing that. It's time to go looking for another job.
I would say.
And, these plants, I cannot imagine. There's 6 or 7 different organizations that have ownership shares in them. And I would bet that every owner wants to close the whole thing down.
Well, in the last decade, U.S. power firms retired more than 500 coal-fired power units, representing about 100 gigawatts.
And a gigawatt, what is a gigawatt, Tom?
It's a gigawatt.
Yeah, the Vermont Yankee nuclear power plant was about 0.6 of 1 gigawatt. So, a gigawatt is the size of a fairly sizable nuclear power plant.
Pretty sizable.
Yeah, pretty sizable. Okay.
Got a picture of a funny-looking battery here.
It doesn't look like a battery at all, does it? It looks like an IC.
It does that. It's a very interesting article.
Yes, it is.
I'll read the title because it says a lot.
Yeah.
New diamond battery will last 28,000 years. It's powered by nuclear waste.
Yeah, this battery is going to last 5 times as long as human history has to date. And, our civilization could collapse and human species could disappear, but this battery is going to keep going, powering its own version of what is that? The bunny? Yeah. Ever ready rascal? I don't know. This is from the India Times. A U.S. startup says radioactive isotopes from nuclear waste with ultra slim layers of nano diamonds can make a battery that will last up to 28,000 years. The nano diamond battery hopes to start selling the batteries within the next 2 years. I've been seeing references to this technology for
this is a new approach, and I think it's a winner.
Well, it might be, but there's something that's going on here that I don't like. And that is they're saying these things are safe. They won't do any harm to anybody.
That's what it says.
That's what it says. Tom, in my experience, there's 3 kinds of numbers that come from the nuclear industry. One of them is numbers that are spot on. If you want to find out how many electron volts you're going to get from the fission of an atom of a particular isotope, they're going to tell you it's going to be that. Or if you want to know the number of watts or megawatts a nuclear power plant is going to produce, if they say it's going to be 900 megawatts, it's going to be 900 megawatts. The second kind of number is what they get to when they make projections about delivery times and prices. And when that comes up, they're generally off, quoting times and prices that are actually about 50% of what the delivery times and prices are. And this is not just my observation. This is an observation that I've seen over and over and over again.
But it's taken 2 years, and you're saying it's probably going to be longer than that.
Oh, yeah, twice as long. The third kind is the nuclear industry's numbers on safety.
Uh-huh.
And if you go trying to find out how many people were killed by the explosion at Chernobyl, I've seen numbers from the nuclear industry as low as 20 or less. I think I saw one that was less. You go to Wikipedia and you're going to find their resources will give you the actual list of people who died. And they might say that it's 67 or 82 or whatever, but it's going to be under 100. If you go to the World Health Organization, they're going to say, nah, it's more like 4,500. So the World Health Organization is quoting a figure that differs by 2 orders of magnitude. It's more than 100. It's about 100 times as big. You go to Greenpeace or one of those other organizations, and they're going to say, nah, it's more like 100,000. So how do you reconcile that? And the answer to that question is you can't, because you're just a guy or girl who's got trying to do the best you can with life, and you certainly don't have the records. The nuclear industry wants you to be able to show that particular alpha particle caused this particular cancer or whatever it is. They're going to go by the principle of innocent until proven guilty. And the one thing that I have found, though, is that when it comes to safety analysis, which is a big thing, the nuclear industry is off badly. The power plants that we have, a few of them are supposed to be at a point of safety where the likelihood of a meltdown is 1 in 10,000 in any given year. The great majority of them, the number is 1 in 20,000. A few of them are 1 in 50,000. But if you look at the nuclear power plants, we've had very roughly about 20,000 reactor years. And from that figure, the set of figures I just gave you, we would expect 1 meltdown, and we've had 11. And, there's no doubt about this. There were 3 at Fukushima Daiichi. There was 3 Mile Island. There was Fermi 1 just outside of Detroit. The sodium reactor experiment, which I'm including because it was in fact generating electricity and selling it. And I'm only... What's that?
The one in Chicago?
No, the sodium reactor experiment was in Simi Valley, California, just outside of Los Angeles. And we don't know how much damage was done by that at all. We just don't know. What's that?
We're just not talking.
It happened. It was the first one to happen, but there was, that's 6. Then you've got Chernobyl makes it 7. Chapel Cross in Scotland makes it 8. Yoslevska Bohnica in Czechoslovakia makes it 9. And then there were 2 on separate occasions, 10 years apart or 11 years apart at Saint-Laurent in France. So you've got 11 meltdowns where you expect 1, and that's being off by more than 1 order of magnitude. And that's nuclear safety analysis. That's what happens when the nuclear industry does its safety analysis. And it took me a long time to figure out why. And I finally came to a conclusion about what the answer to that was, that I think is the case. And that is, they did in fact exclude human error from their analysis altogether because it could not be quantified. So they said 1 in 10,000. What they meant was it was 1 in 10,000 unless somebody made a mistake.
Uh-huh.
And, okay, this NDP battery is not going to hurt anybody unless somebody makes a mistake. Okay, people never make mistakes. So
putting it in your drink.
Or sticking it in your pocket. Tom, I don't know if you're aware of it, but a lot of cell phones have warnings that say, warning, do not keep this in your pocket.
Yes, that's correct.
And that's because if they're on, they can cause cancer. And there's just,
They have done so.
Yeah, and it's disturbing, but it happens to be true. They want you not to put it in your pocket. Okay, I'm sorry I went on and on and on about that, but really we should get on to our next item.
Here, the firm has not produced any batteries today.
Yes. Well, as long as they don't produce batteries, we know the batteries will be safe. And by the way, I should point out, I don't know that these batteries won't be safe. It's just that when I hear that and I say to myself, there's a flag going up. Okay, our next item. Should we go on to our next item?
Yeah, I think we should. We got a funny looking picture here.
We do.
It's a balloon to carry test equipment along.
It says it's a gondola. Where's the gondolier?
There's a bicycle on the side, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not a bike. That's right. Okay, this is from Weather Boy. What do you have for a title for this, Tom?
Plot to manipulate weather or climate is backed by Bill Gates, or weather or climate backed by Bill Gates has been scrubbed.
Yeah, a plan to manipulate the weather and climate in an ambitious experiment went public last month. Now it appears the plan has been scrubbed after getting backlash from people around the world, and especially in Sweden, where the initial experiment was to unfold. They were going to use chalk in this experiment. They were going to use.
What are they going to do? They're going to spray the stratosphere with chalk.
Not a whole lot of chalk either. This was something that I think you'd need scientific equipment to be able to detect what it was actually doing.
Well, what they were trying to do was to deflect some of the sun's radiation from reaching the Earth's surface.
Right.
In less heating.
Yeah. So
and it says here that the stratosphere is the home of the ozone layer.
Yep.
Protects Earth from harmful radiation.
Yep.
It is possible the chalk could interfere with this ozone, allowing harmful radiation, which could cause cancer.
Yeah, when you decide that you're going to change the way nature is doing things, you're deciding that you're smarter than nature is, and I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Well, what they finally end this article with scientists have recommended that the project be suspended until they can make a final recommendation based upon a robust study.
Right.
These guys are going off half-cocked.
Yeah. Okay, we have an item from Raleigh News and Observer coming up, and I'm gonna go on to that. We have picture here of offshore.
You're going to skip this one about the balloon?
Did we read that? I thought we read that. No, we read that, Tom.
Okay.
Okay. Our next item is from the Raleigh News and Observer. And what do you have for that, Tom?
Strong winds off the coast could power a clean energy economy in North Carolina.
And in case anybody's wondering what the noise in the background, that's people calling the show from North Carolina. Okay.
Telephone, so let me try and see what's going on here.
Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Answer call.
You know, I had a call earlier today, and there was a guy on the phone, and he was very nice to me, and he said he was calling from, I don't know, the IRS or Medicare or something like that. And I said to him, and he was so nice until I said that, and then he just was very rude. Okay, what do you have for a title from?
Strong winds off the coast could power a clean energy economy in North Carolina.
Yeah, to learn the direction of the energy production in North Carolina, look to the weather vane. Last year, Duke Energy and Dominion Energy of Virginia called off the 600-mile Atlantic coast pipeline. Now the weather points to toward the wind power off the coast of North Carolina.
Well, this pipeline project would have tied the states to fossil fuel-based energy for a generation.
Yeah.
They're now well positioned to go in a new direction.
Yes, they are. Okay, we have to keep going because we've fallen behind because I was talking too much. We're up to Monday, April 5th, and we have another picture of different kinds of renewable energy, both solar panels and wind turbines. And this comes from Renews. We've seen that picture before, I think, but I don't know how long.
Yeah, well, you know, they're not incompatible. It makes sense to put them both.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You've got the same network collecting them and bringing them to the grid.
Yeah, and when the sun is shining is when the wind is lightest in general. Yeah. You have heavier wind in the winter and lighter wind in the summer. You have heavier wind at night and lighter wind during the day. So they do fit together. And this is from Renews. And what do you have for title?
Record 260 gigawatts of
Megawatts.
power added in 2020. 260 gigawatts is a lot.
I guess it is. A record of over 260 gigawatts of new renewable energy was installed in 2020, despite the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, according to data from the International Renewable Energy Agency. IRENA said its renewable energy capacity statistics in its report of that title, that the new capacity of 2020 was nearly 50% more than what was installed in 2019.
So, it's robocall.
Oh, okay. What do you got to say about this, or should we just go to the next one?
More than 80% of all new electricity capacity added last year was renewable.
Yeah, that's a really impressive figure, isn't it?
It is. It's partly attributable to the decommissioning of fossil fuels.
Yes. Okay. Tom, our next item is from the national interest.
You got to pick some guys up in an airplane, right?
And you know, the way those yellow straps are tied makes me think that those things are designed to pull open a parachute as they jump out. The parachute will out.
Yeah, right. They don't have to pull anything. They just go.
They just go, and this is automatic, and they're about to jump out the door.
And it says, and I quote, all of the day's work.
It sure does. That was my words. What do you have for a title for the article?
Renewable energy in the U.S. military, quote, creating a lean, mean, green war fighting machine.
Yeah, the U.S. military has been one of the greatest tech innovators on Earth. It won't be different with energy. In addition to improved security with increased military use of renewables, the public stands to gain from the military's downstream applications. And that is the truth. The military has produced a lot of really interesting things over the years.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're looking at a lot of things, and some of the things they're looking at prove to be useful.
You know, my father was a naval officer, and he invented some stuff that people use.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I know he was a naval officer. What did he invent?
Radar navigation. What's that?
Did you say radar navigation?
I sure did. Fire control too. It had been invented by other people before, but of course he didn't know because he was just a navigator on a destroyer, and it was the big capital ships that had radar navigation, and it was really top secret. But he invented a way to do it using the radar sets that they had on destroyers.
Oh, cool.
And they actually, the Navy actually had him write the first paper on radar navigation using that kind of radar. And the instance in which this happened was so bizarre. I mean, he saw that another ship was about to run into a shoal during an invasion, and he broke radio silence and told them. And the message, of course, the whole conversation went to the staff, and they wanted to know how he could be telling another destroyer that it was about to hit. You know, when it wasn't even in sight. They found it very amusing, I'm sure.
Well, the Defense Department has the highest energy consumption of any single organization in the country.
Yes.
From 2011 to 2015, the military has doubled its renewable generation.
Yep.
While the nation's economy added a mere 2.6%.
Yeah. Okay. Our next item, I hate to be rushing this, though, but, you know, we're 4 minutes behind. Our next item is from Clean Technica. What have you got for this? Those are solar panels.
Aries is what they call it. If you're going to know what that is. Advanced research on integrated, I'm going to tell you what it is.
I guess
research on integrated energy systems.
I guess you told us what it is, Tom. Advanced Research on Integrated Energy Systems is a research platform for understanding the impacts of millions of new devices such as EVs, renewable generation, hydrogen, energy storage, and grid interactive buildings that get connected to the grid each day. And this is something that, you know, it's a system that ordinary people can actually figure out how this thing works and see what happens when their town puts a new solar array in or something like that.
Well, what they're looking at is the growing interdependency between the power system and
Right.
other structures like natural gas.
Yeah. Okay, we're up to Tuesday, April 6th, and we have a picture of wind turbines.
Is that what they are?
I think it is, and this is from CNN. And what do you have for a title here?
How Biden's zero carbon revolution would broaden the energy map.
President Joe Biden's push for green power revolution could expand the economic benefits of producing energy more broadly across America. One provision would require every state to generate all of its electricity without carbon emissions by 2035.
That's doable, but you're going to have to work to do it.
Yeah, you're going to have to work to do it. And, there are people who are going to be opposing this. There's a big opposition forming in Texas right now.
That's part of the article. The article's worth reading if you got the time. It's long, but it's very informative.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to go straight to the next article. This is from Yahoo News Canada, and we have a picture of Hurricane Laura,
which happened in 2020.
Yeah, and that is one impressive bunch of clouds.
It certainly is. Tropical cyclones are growing stronger, and climate change is probably to blame.
A new study published ahead of the next Global Climate Summit has found a definite increase in tropical cyclone intensity over the last 4 decades. According to the researchers, the most likely culprit of this intensification is climate change. And of course, Tom and I have been talking about this for a long time. Warmer air means warmer water. Warmer water means it's heating up the air above it.
That's just what I was going to say. Tropical cyclones. And by the way, a cyclone and a hurricane are the same thing.
Okay.
Tropical cyclones draw their strength from warm ocean waters. Projections show that the intensity and intensification rate of these storms will continue to rise.
Yeah, and it's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse. We have to stop climate change so that these things stop getting worse. But stopping climate change is not something that's going to happen overnight.
Well, we got a picture here coming up of the Clover Power Station in Virginia. There
it is, Clover Power Station. How did you know, Tom? You must be psychic.
I am, yep.
This is from...
What it says is J-Power USA is converting retired coal facility into new solar and storage facility.
Yeah, this is from Environment and Energy Leader. J-Power USA Development and affiliates of Fortress Investment Group agreed to develop a 50-megawatt solar plant and a 190-megawatt energy storage system on the site of the 25-year-old coal-burning Birchwood power plant in George County, Virginia. Now, I want to point out, when these coal-burning power plants are built, it's generally expected that they're going to stay running for about 50 years. So this plant is just halfway.
Almost all the time.
Yeah, and this plant is shutting down 25 years early to make way for a battery.
And the same thing is happening in New York East River.
Yeah, and it's happening in Los Angeles, and it's happening all over the United States. That article that we had about in which I mentioned the big plant in Macon, Georgia, they basically said in the article that that power backed up by batteries is going to be cheaper than the cheapest natural gas power plants, almost 100% of the time. So,
well, part of what's going on here is the existing transmission infrastructure will be used for the new facility.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yep.
The decommissioning of Birchwood, the company's portfolio, will only consist of natural gas and renewables.
Yeah. Okay.
Their coal.
Our next item, and we are up to Wednesday, April 7th. Our
What
next.
is he doing there?
This little girl is kind of slinking around, and it's a fun story. She's literally slinking around here.
Well, what the article says, a teenage girl says with a smile, before they would have heard me taking the car.
Yeah. And Tom, you watched the ad, I'm sure.
Yeah, I did.
It's kind of a fun ad.
Yeah, well, there's a series of them, and they're all kind of fun.
Yeah. And do you have a title for the article?
Yeah, just about what we just said.
Oh.
Launches 3 superb ID4 commercials in the USA.
Okay, Volkswagen's new EV commercials communicate the better benefits of electric vehicles for normal people superbly, wonderfully. The VW ads dissolve myths, highlight strong points, some being places where gas cars can't compete, and couch it all in attractive, familiar daily lives. And here is this girl who's going to sneak off with a family car before her parents catch her because it's quiet. And you switch from this thing immediately to the father who is lying in bed, and he picks up his cell phone and says, yeah, and I have an app that shows exactly where she's going. Well, when they give her...
Takeaway here is the number one barrier to EV adoption at this point is limited consumer awareness around the benefits of electric vehicles.
Couldn't have said it better, Tom. Yeah, absolutely. So, do you have more on that?
No, that's enough.
That's enough. Okay, our next item is from Forbes.
Got a nice picture of a smoky chimney here.
Yeah, right.
2020 set a new record for renewable energy. What's the catch?
Yeah, more than 80% of all new electricity generating products built last year were renewable, leading to a 10.3% rise in total installed zero carbon electricity generation globally. But in spite of reduced energy demand in 2020 due to COVID-19, fossil fuels also grew.
That's the catch.
That's the catch, and so did emissions. We have to stop not just growing them, we have to stop using them.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be a very, very hard thing to do.
Well, it says we're still building coal and gas power plants. We need to be replacing.
Well, in the United States, we are not building new coal burning power plants, and we haven't for years. But they are being built across the world.
China's still building them.
China is building them not only in China, but in other places also.
Oh, absolutely.
And, they make a lot of money doing that. So they have to be convinced. Even they know better. They really do. But they still have to be convinced. They've got, I don't know how many people die in China every year, and in India also, because of their use of coal burning power plants. But we're talking about a large number here.
Well, you're going to have to read the title of this picture because it's in Welsh.
You're going to the next picture yet?
The picture, I've got the picture up. It's a bunch of.
Well, before we do, I should read the blurb for this Forbes article.
Oh, that's what we did. Okay.
Oh, I did read it. I'm sorry. It was my turn to be forgetful, Tom.
Duh.
Duh. Okay. This one. Yes. This is the CEVN is Kevin. CROES is Kreuz. This is a Kevin Kreuz wind farm in Bulch, Hellugen.
They gave a pronunciation for that, and it sounds like Bush Leon. It's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, well, Bulch, the W comes out like OO, and
okay,
yeah, like OO and boo.
It means a pass in Welsh.
Yeah.
Small village in southern Wales.
Yeah. Okay. And this is a story from The Guardian. And
electricity system has the greenest day ever over Easter.
Well, how do you like that? On Easter Monday, when the wind and sun supplied 60% of all of the UK's electricity, its households enjoyed a bank holiday lunch. And by the way, they've got lockdown all over the UK, so nobody's going anywhere anyway. At the same time, the UK's nuclear reactors provided 16% of the energy mix, making up almost 80% of the grid powered by low carbon sources. So this is over three.
This wind project is the largest project in Wales, largest onshore wind energy project.
Yeah. My daughter went for a tour of Wales, which was not a guided tour. She just poked around. And she said it's a beautiful countryside. It's got mountains that are covered with sheep and wind turbines. And she just loved the wind turbines, as do a lot of people, as a matter of fact. A lot of people in Wales love the wind turbines. And there's a few who insist on being grumpy about the whole thing.
Well, that's the last item we got.
It is. Do you have anything else to say? I pushed too hard, perhaps. Maybe I wasn't adding up the figures very well. We're seeing.
All we can.
We are seeing the whole thing. The damage done with climate change is just going to continue happening. It'll continue happening during my lifetime, I'm sure. No matter how long I live, it'll continue to get worse.
Well, the bottom line, it's all about money.
Well, yes, but the thing is that the atmosphere of the Earth is not like water in a tea kettle, where you turn on the heat, it comes to a boil, it whistles and screams, and when you turn the heat off, it stops whistling and screaming immediately. Climate change is more like having a double boiler, and you turn on the heat and bring the water at the bottom to a boil, and up top you're making an egg dish, and when the water comes to a boil you turn it off, but it stays hot, and it keeps heating up that egg dish up top, so it's going to keep cooking and it's going to keep getting hotter. And that's what's going to happen when we stop putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. It's going to keep getting hotter for some period of time, and nobody really knows how long. So it's important that we stop as soon as we possibly can. And there you have it.
Well, it's been a good bunch of articles that we talked about.
Yep.
So I guess we can say goodbye.
I think we can. And let me put up the final one, which says, have a gloriously happy week. My hope is that everybody out there does. I can absolutely guarantee that I am waving goodbye at this time, as is Tom. Right, Tom?
Yeah.
And I will tell you, one of the astonishing things that makes Tom Fennell astonishing is that he is not only a philanthropist, he is a truth teller. So have a happy week, and we hope you come back next time.